العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين وبالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يبتغ غير الإسلام دينا فلن يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات بيجي محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We began the series of Majlis from a night before the 1st of Muharram. And the verse that we've been reciting was from Surah Fajr, the last 4 ayat. And under that we had the discussion for 10 or 11 nights under the topic of messages from Ashura. After having discussed that, and obviously there are many other messages that can be derived that we did not even touch upon. So by no means the presentation was all-encompassing. Rather, there are many other aspects of the messages and the lessons that can be derived from Ashura which we did not cover. And those that we touched upon, by no means we gave the haqq of presenting them as well, because there might have been many things that were left out. In fact, every night when I would go back and review as to what I spoke of, I would find that many things that I left out, I did not cover. So there were many other aspects that could have been touched upon, and inshallah, if life gives permission, Allah gives permission, we will discuss them later on. Or the ulama and the scholars, I'm just a talib ilm, scholars that will come here, inshallah, will discuss and highlight that area, and so deriving the messages from Ashura. Because we did not touch upon the political aspect of Ashura, and the political messages that we can derive from it. We did not cover the spiritual aspect of Ashura, nor did we cover the mystical messages that can be derived from Ashura. So there are many other messages that can definitely be looked upon and extracted and deduced from the kalam of Imam Hussein, as well as the companions of Imam Hussein, and also the acts and their character, the way they spend those few days in Karbala, what they presented, what they said. A lot of things can definitely be derived from. So by no means we presented anything which was all-encompassing, but I do want to acknowledge this, that you persevered, you paid attention, you abided with the discussions that we had, although might have been dry at times, but nonetheless, it was something which we wanted to cover in these 10 or 11 nights. Today, or rather tonight, what I want to talk about is the hasil of what we had discussed thus far. So we're not going to repeat anything what we discussed. Otherwise, I will be just getting by, because I have all of those things in my mind. I could just spend an hour discussing what we discussed and summarize that. That's why we have the video available. If someone wants to go ahead and review that, that is at their expense. But what we want to talk about today, or tonight rather, is as to what did we gain and what is our duty towards this religion which Imam Hussein and 72 companions paid their life, paid their blood, gave their blood for, and so that in order for it to survive. What is our duty? Do we have any duty after all of that? Or is it just our duty to commemorate the teaching, commemorate the sorrow and the sadness of Imam every single year repeatedly in the fashion that we do, and not do anything in regards to this religion. No, I think Imam himself, and we quoted few of those ahadith, himself was saying, oh Allah, if deen is going to be protected with my nafs, with my soul, then oh swords, come and take my life. Imam said, if I was given a life 70,000 times, not 70, 70,000, sabi'ina alf, he said, and I was given death 70,000 times, as long as my life is to save this religion, it is worth living. Otherwise, this life has no purpose behind it. Similarly, because we are the followers of that same Imam, we are discussing what this Imam did and presented. So from the very first day, we kept on emphasizing on the aspect of not how Karbala happened, rather why Karbala happened. And if we can understand that why part of Karbala, then we will understand our duties towards this religion, which Imam sacrificed his life for, not just sacrificing himself and his companions, but the later sacrifice which was presented by Zainab and Kulthum and all of the other family members, as Sha'ir has said. I think it's Allama Iqbal who has said this. Hadith-e ishq do babas, Karbala wa Dimashq, ye ki Hussain raqam kar di gari Zainab. So this hadith, this whole event has two sections. One section, it was written by Imam Hussain. The second section was fulfilled and written by Janabi Zainab, the way she presented this religion all around. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So I recited this ayat from Surah Al Imran, verse number 85. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That whoever follows another religion aside from Islam and believes in that, فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ, it will not be accepted from him. It is a deed which will not be accepted from him. It is an action which will not be accepted from him. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And indeed that person is among the losers, khasirin, on the day of judgment, in the hereafter. Here when we look at the word yabtaghi, it is telling us, and that's where the beauty of the religion comes. It's not compelling anyone to embrace or adhere unto this religion. Rather it's saying to those, the word yabtaghi gives us the meaning, the delicacy of the words that Allah has chosen, this kalam hakim. Every word in this ayat of Quran or every ayat of Quran is there for a purpose. Allah did not say whoever chose this religion. Rather he said, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرِ, anyone to follow a religion other than Islam. That means those individuals to whom Islam has reached already. It's not talking about those individuals to whom Islam did not reach and they never embraced this religion. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be compelling them to go ahead and follow this. It is referring towards those individuals to whom this religion has reached. They have embraced this religion, they started walking on this path, and then they left it. These are the people who are being discussed over here. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ فَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. That person to whom this religion reached, yet he did not follow down the path of this religion, did not tread on this path, it is the person who is indeed in a great loss. So we look at as to what this religion is. What is this deen that we are referring towards? What does the word deen mean? Imam Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned this. He said, لا حياة إلا بالدين ولا موت إلا بجحود اليقين. That there's no life except with this religion, with deen, and then there's no maut illa except the one who denies this religion. So life is for the one who's adhering to the path of this deen. And death is to the one who's alive, yet denies this religion. And there are many ways of denying this religion. You and I wake up in the morning, we ask ourselves, have we denied this religion? We said, no, alhamdulillah, we are steadfast on this religion. You ask that question again to yourself, have we denied this religion? Because the denial of the religion does not mean completely becoming agnostic and saying, no, there's no God, and becoming atheist. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about even denial of some practices of this religion. Those things which are among the daruriyat of the religion, necessities of the deen, you deny that, you're exiting this path. And that's why there's a difference between tariqus salat wa munkirus salat. Tariqus salat is a person who doesn't pray. We need to exhort. We need to do nahi anil munkar, amr bil maruf, to make that person start praying. But munkir salat is someone who has exited the realm of religion. So there's a difference between the two. And first, we don't call that person non-Muslim, or that person is kafir, for example. But the second one, who's munkir of just one act of this religion, which is salat, munkir salat. So there's a huge difference between tariqus salat and munkirus salat. One who's denying the salat, saying not only that the person doesn't pray, but also denies that there's no need to pray. Religion does not want us. Allah is not so and so that He wants us to bow down and prostrate and whatnot. There are, people who are creating such doubts. So therefore, this is where deen comes and protects us. Imam, when he left, before leaving, he was in Mina. We know that Imam was there to perform Hajj, Imam Hussein. He was in Mina, and there was a khutbah that Imam had given. He said this, "Inna dunya qad taghayyarat." I talked about this particular segment, so this is something which you should have heard before. But then Imam said, "Innal haqqa la yu'malu bih." The truth is something which is being performed. وَأَنَّ الْبَاطِلَ لَا يُتَنَاهَا أَنْهُ. And batil is not being denied upon. Haqq is not being practiced, and batil is not being denied. And then he said, فَإِنِّي لَا أَرَى الْمَوْتَ إِلَّا سَعَادَةً وَلَا حَيَاةً مَعَ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا بَرْمًا. I do not see anything in this life, la hayat, I don't see anything in this mouth except sa'adat, because I am presenting my life for God. And if I was to live under the rule of unjust, then that is nothing but disgrace for me. And similar words were referred and addressed by Abul Fadl Abbas, Qamar Bani Hashim. He said what? When he went for jihad, when he went to get the water, and then when he was coming back, these were the words. He said, "Wallahi in qata'atum yamini." When his right arm was cut off, what did he say? He said words at that time as well. They've been documented. "Wallahi in qata'atum yamini." By God, if you cut off my right arm, what did he say? "Inni uhami abadan andini." I will still continue to protect this religion. Even if you cut off my right hand, even if you cut off my left hand, it's not going to stop me from, continue to back this religion. Muhami, to go ahead and back this religion. So here, certain duties lie upon us. And that's why we said tonight is the hasil of the majalis that we had in the first 10 nights. What is our duty towards this religion? 5-fold duty that I don't know if I'll have time to go in the details because we started late. First and foremost is the proper recognition of this deen. Because if we don't know what this deen is, then we're not going to be able to go to the next step. So first and foremost is for us to understand what deen is, proper recognition of it, that is the first step. Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahjul Balagha says, أَوَّلُ الدِّينِ مَعْرِفَتُهُ. The first step of religion is what? Ma'rifat. The recognition of it. Go look at the first khutbah of Nahjul Balagha. That's where Imam says this. أَوَّلُ الدِّينِ مَعْرِفَتُهُ. The first step about deen is what? Getting used to it, getting recognition of it, getting acquainted with it, and getting to know it. That is the first thing. Because if you don't know it, you cannot move on to the second step. Second step is taslim kamil, which means complete submission as far as the ahkam ad-din are concerned. So first and foremost, you learn. Second, you become submissive towards it. Because if you yourself is doubting, and I'll go in the details of all of these later on as well. If you yourself is doubting what this religion is, then obviously how are you going to go ahead and get on to the next step, the third step? Because there are many things that you and I cannot understand. It's beyond our understanding. I think I said in one of the majalis before as well, that we sometimes become followers of our aql. But here, honestly speaking, I raised that challenge that day as well. How many of us have regretted after having done something? Tell me one person over here who has never regretted anything in their life. Never regretted anything in their life. I know you're shy raising your hand over here, but I'm sure many of you have never regretted anything in your life. But common notion is, yes, we have regretted many things. And we look upon those things because we're not masoom. We're not infallible. So we're prone to making mistakes. And when we make mistake, right away, there's this regretting factor in it. As long as this regret is there, let it be known, this heart is still alive. As soon as the regret goes away, that heart is dead. You're walking, dead. That's it. I'm sure you've heard, just to mention it for the kids, that there's a hadith which says every time we do something bad, there's a black dot that goes on our hearts. It's not a physical heart. Not the heart, or it's not the physical dot. Not that dot which, according to some historians, that Prophet's heart was cut open and it was washed up and then it was installed back in. So there were surgeons at that time in the form of angels who cut open the heart of Prophet. They performed this surgery by cleaning it literally, the heart of Prophet, because it had rust on it, and then putting it back together again. No, not that. We're talking about this rust, and there's these dots which are not physically there, but they're getting on top of our hearts. And then first time when we do it, we regret what we have done. Second time we do it, there's still this regretting factor in it. But as we get in the habit of doing that thing over and over and over again, then that regret goes away. And when that regret goes away, that means the heart is completely covered by those black dots. Every single dot made it to be a whole cover for the whole heart, and therefore there's no regret anymore in us. So, having said that, we have regretted many times in our life, and we will continue to regret, because we're not perfect human beings. We're prone to making mistakes. We'll continue on making mistakes, but the major factor is that we learn from those mistakes and not to repeat them again. That's where the concept of tawbah comes into play. Tawbah is ruju ilallah. What does that mean, ruju? Ruju means that you were from here and now you have gone back. Ruju is going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So tawbah is the same way. You're returning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While they're fixing the light, sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So here, the understanding is that we regret. When we regret, that means we've made mistakes. And therefore, nobody over here can say that my aql is kamil, because if your aql was kamil, you would not be making mistakes. Aql kamil is with ma'asumeen. That's why they don't make mistakes. That's why they don't commit these things. That's why, in fact, it's not, and it is a wrong notion that imams cannot commit a mistake. That's a wrong notion. Imams do not commit a mistake. That's the correct way of saying it. It's not that they cannot. There is that ability in them, because if that was the case, they would be like angels who do not have any inclination towards anything that is haram. I'm not saying imams do, but with ikhtiyar, they don't go near it. And that's where the skill lies. Easy example, I can give it to you and move forward. Month of Ramadan. You have the ability to eat during the day. Your refrigerator is filled with food. Just pop it into the microwave and eat it right away. Or that ice cream which is sitting in the refrigerator. Pull it out, eat it right away. But you refrain from it. Having this power to refrain from this food while you have this ability is something which is closer to what Masumeen has. Another version is, the Masumeen have this thing throughout. You and I gain this power temporarily during the month of Ramadan, because those things are not haram for us, yet temporarily they have become haram for us. When temporarily they have become haram for us, it is easily accessible for us. When it's easily accessible for us, then to refrain from that is a bigger skill. It's a skill that you have gained only through the virtue of the month of Ramadan. Otherwise, we would be fasting all year long. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Third aspect is, after the first, recognition of the deen. Second is to go ahead and be taslim kamil, complete submission towards this deen. Third aspect is to be able to spread this religion and increase the followers of this religion. Because we're not the followers of those, the wrong notion that has developed by certain other religions that we do not need followers. No. Prophet kept on, bringing people to the path. It's not that, you're increasing the number of your, adherents of the religion. No, that's not the cause. So that we're the biggest nation in the world as far as the religion of Islam is concerned. No. By teaching them this religion, you're actually guiding them, bringing them out of dhulumat towards nur. Look at it from that aspect. Not from the aspect that you're increasing the number of the people. Not from the aspect that you're increasing the adherence of this religion. So right now we have 1.6 billion. One day we want to have, 3 billion, for example. No. That's not what we're trying to do. Rather, what we're trying to do is to bring people who are on this path to the correct path. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Fourth is difa. Difa and the defending this religion and protecting the azamat of this religion. That's the fourth aspect of it. That once you start spreading it, now what you move on to the next process of defending this religion. And the last aspect is fighting and striving to remove any discrepancies, any tahrifat, alterations, fabrications, innovations that have come into this religion. Removing them is the next duty. So it's a five-fold duty that we need to be able to address, and we need to be able to adopt that. Inshallah, I'll go into the details of that with a loud salawat. So first of all, what is deen? How much is it worth? I know there are conversations that we have left off and we need to finish those conversations, but inshallah I'll quickly wrap up my discussion and I'll let you have that conversation to carry on. Just pay attention. Maybe another 15-20 minutes, inshallah, we'll wrap it up as quickly as possible. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Because I won't lose track because I have my information right here. But when I hear the conversation in the back, either I get the notion that this is what I'm saying is not interested, they're not interested in hearing this, or maybe this is something which is just boring, so they don't want to pay attention. But maybe some people do want to pay attention, so I would request if you could just quietly bear with me for another 15-20 minutes. Inshallah, we'll wrap this up. Another salawat loud, please. And if there's something really important for you to talk about immediately, there's another hall, I think, where you can definitely go and discuss that. So the second question is, what service has deen done to mankind? How beneficial it is for the society, and what is our duty against it? So deen literally means reward. That's what it literally means when you look it up in the dictionary. Compensation, reward, obedience, and following. These are different meanings which pretty much have the same root, are discussed and mentioned as far as the definition of deen is concerned. So someone asks you, what is deen? Right away say, well, it means reward, it means compensation, it means obedience, it means following. These are the four translations that we find as far as deen is concerned. Then the next question, which deen is complete? Well, looking at the ayat of Quran, not just a baseless claim. Quran says, Inna deena indallahi al-Islam. Only deen in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? Islam. That's the only deen in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You would raise questions as to why did he send Christianity? Why did he send Judaism before that? Why did he send other scriptures, the Zoroastrians and whatnot, and all of these different adherents of different religions? Well, they were there all submissive. As far as the word Islam means, is submission. They were submissive towards God. But then the most complete form of deen which was sent down upon mankind was when he said, Al-yawm akmaltu lakum dinakum. That today I have perfected my religion. Even when Allah sent Prophet and he was mab'uth bi risalat at the age of 40, deen was not complete at that time. The ayat was not revealed, Inna deena indallahi al-Islam. Later on, when all of the ahkamat were sent down, or the revelation was completed, then the revelation came telling us, now this religion is complete, you should be followers of this deen. So we see the first and foremost is proper and thorough recognition of deen. I mentioned that hadith from Nahj al-Balagha. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam said what? Awwaluddin ma'rifatu. First step of deen is ma'rifat of this deen, recognition of this deen. What do we do to gain access to this deen? This actually becomes wajib. It's not recommended. Oh, you should learn religion. No. This actually becomes wajib. A wajib, just like any other wajib. You need to go ahead and gain recognition of this religion. You can't just say, well, some other people will go ahead and gain recognition. We're not talking about those which Surah Tawbah, verse 122 talks about. Why not some people from every community go and study the deen and then come back and propagate? We're not talking about those. Those who become experts in deen. That's in Surah Tawbah chapter 9, verse number 122. We're talking about the basic and recognition of this deen, which Amir al-Mu'mineen is telling us in the first khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha, Awwaluddin ma'rifatu. The first step of this deen is to regain ilm. And that's why he said, لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ إِمَاد وَإِمَادُ الدِّينِ الْفِقْهِ. For everything that there's this sutoon, there's a pillar. This building right here will not stand if there weren't these pillars. Although beautifully decorated so they can hide. But underneath actually there's this pole which is actually holding up the weight which is on top. So they've disguised it in a way so it looks good. But I'm sure underneath this, there's these poles, which is called the sutoon and the pillars, upon which this building is resting. Imam said what? لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ إِمَادٌ. For everything there's a sutoon, there's a pillar. وَإِمَادُ الدِّينِ, not namaz, not roza, not hajj, not zakat. Al-fiqh. Recognition of the fiqh is what the pillar of the religion is. So you need to know this fiqh to the extent that it comes in handy for you. That is your duty. It's not asking you to become experts in that, but to the extent that you need to know. So today nobody should be able to say, I've been praying wrong. I don't know the fiqh masala. I don't know what to eat. I don't know what not to eat. I don't know what to abstain from. Today that should not be the case. Because this knowledge is on our fingertips today. Anything you want to look up, mashallah, with the expansion, the way the knowledge base is now, we have access. In fact, there was a book which was written, Man la yahduruhul faqih. What does that mean? Book for the one who does not have a faqih, a jurist near him. That book was written back in the day for those who did not have jurists, because obviously traveling was not that easy. Going from one city to another city where the jurists were was not easy. So the book was written. This book, you keep it with yourself, and then you're able to solve your questions and answers. This is something which becomes imminent for us as well today in this technology that we have. It's very easy to look up the masail, and it's very easy to go through them. I'll go through it very quickly. Second, before we get to second, it says those people who enter in the realm of religion because of someone's influence, because our parents used to practice this religion, now we have become the practicers of this religion. No. If that is the case with you and I, then it will be similarly easy for us to exit the realm of this religion. The hadith says, Man dakhala fi hadha ad-din bir-rijal akhrajahu minhu ar-rijal. The one who entered it through the influence of another will be able to leave through the influence of others. Similar as that. Simple as that. So therefore, what is it telling us? It's telling us that we should go ahead and increase our knowledge. Later part of the hadith says, Man dakhala fihi bil-kitab was-sunnah. Whoever enters this religion through this book and the tradition and the sunnah, zalatil jibalu qabla an yazul. He's like this mountain which cannot be shaken, which cannot be moved. And that's why we see a lot of time those who are converts, their belief is far more stronger than our beliefs. Because they had struggled in their life to enter into this religion. You and I took it for granted because We were born in the family. Our fathers and forefathers had already embraced this religion. Or we come from the family which has always been Muslim. So we take it for granted. And that's why you see, sometimes it is best to learn from those who have entered and walked into this religion, because they had to struggle, strive against their own family members, against their peers, friends, and then embrace this religion. When you have paid a price for the religion, then you feel the pain for it, and that's when it becomes like this jibal, this mountain, which cannot be shaken off. Salawat ji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So confirm your religion with those who have the knowledge. And this is not something, which was not the practice of awliya Allah. There were many awliya who used to go to imam of their time or the knowledgeable person of their time to confirm that they are following or their practices are correct. There's no shame in that. There's no harm in that. Have you heard of the name of Shah Abdul Azim Hassani? He's buried in Tehran, Shahri Rai. I'm sure those who've gone for ziyarat in Iran, when you go for the ziyarat of Bibi Masuma Qum, you go for the ziyarat in Tehran as well. That's where is the grave of Shah Abdul Azim Hassani. In fact, some riwayat say that the ziyarat of his is equal to the ziyarat of Imam Hussein. He's from the progeny of second Imam, and therefore he, in his own time, goes up to Imam Hadi alayhi salatu wasalam and asks him, he says this to him, Yabna Rasulullah, O son of Rasulullah, Inni uridu an a'arida alayka dini, fa in kana mardiyan, thabattu alayhi hatta alqallah. O Imam, I want to present my religion to you. Tell me if it is correct, so that, when I meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's, everything is okay in it. Imam says, yes, whatever you're following, your deen is correct. So it was a common practice. There should not be any shame if you have those scholars around you to go ahead and present your deen, present your practices. So make sure that you are practicing it correctly, rather than being ashamed in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tomorrow. Because this excuse will not be accepted. Oh Allah, I did not know, I always practiced it like this. I was always taught this way. And therefore I did not know what to do. And you'd be surprised at to sometimes very, very basic things, which sometimes our parents are shy of teaching our kids, are not learned way later when the kids have grown up. And that's when they learn those basic things. I'm talking about the method of doing wudu. I'm talking about the method of doing ghusl. Even those things, sometimes it is very scary to see some people doing it wrong. And therefore it is important for us to go ahead and correct it. Second is taslim kamil, submission in front of ahkam ilahi. It says, ad-deenu shajaratun asluha taslim wal-rida. Deen is like this tree. The roots of this religion is what? The roots of this religion is taslim, complete submission, and following the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not falling victim to, why I don't have this, why that person has this, why is this disparity, why is there this discrimination, and so on and so forth. No. Whatever God has given to you, you should embrace this. I think I've mentioned this example before, but فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. I'll remind you again, because reminder is beneficial for mu'mineen, that how easily we go ahead and question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That why this, why that. This why is a birth, takes birth from two aspects. Sometimes you say why because you want to learn something. Sometimes you say why because you want to do i'tiraz. You want to do tanqeed. You want to do tanqeed. For example, Khalifa of the time has invited our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. And in fact, he said to Imam, wait until we call upon you and then you can come. To disrespect Imam. To show no attention towards him. That, you're just an ordinary individual. I'll invite you when I feel like. So Imam was actually waiting until he was given the permission to come into the court of the hakim of the time. And so a lot of things don't happen by accident. Don't think, oh, it was ittifaq, it was an accident, it happened. No, things that Allah does happen for a purpose. And it was not an accident that Imam, when he was finally given the permission, and he walked in, again that question, why? There was this fly which was bugging the Khalifa. He was sitting, and then, there was this fly, kept on flying on his face. We've gone through, especially when you're in Mina, or when you're in Arafat rather, and there are flies or there's mosquitoes, you can't even kill them, because every time you kill them, it's a kafara. But this tyrant ruler of the time, Imam walks in, and then this fly is bugging him. Right away he said, لِمَاذَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ الذُّبَابَ? Why did Allah create, this fly? So the question was not that he wants to know the reason behind the khilqat of it. Because if that was the case, Imam would have mentioned the benefits of fly. What they do, what they don't do, and what not. You look at Nahjul Balagha, it's filled the way Amirul Mu'mineen has mentioned the benefits and the reason behind the creation of many of the creations that we have around us. He talks about ants, he talks about honeybee, he talks about all of these things. The question was, i'tiraz onto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why has Allah created this? In other words, it does nothing but to bug us. So why has Allah created it? If he had asked Imam the question in a way that he wanted to know and increase his knowledge, Imam would have answered it the same way. But his question was to criticize the Khaliq Haqiqi. So Imam replied in the same tone. He said, so that it can bug the tyrant rulers like you. Allah has created this bug so that it can bring you consider yourself to be very powerful. Look, you do not even have the power to control this little bug that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. This is to break the ghurur and the arrogance of the jababir, arrogance of these tyrants such as yourself. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So second thing is to be taslim kamil, submissive towards this. And there are many ayat in the Quran which talk about this. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا. Mu'min is only the one who believes in Allah and His apostle and does not contradict for 1 second. If Prophet has said something, do not contradict him. And we know well in history that how many places such credible khulafa contradicted Prophet. When Prophet made Hudaybiyah, the pact of Hudaybiyah, some people got up and said, I always doubted in his nubuwwat. Today I have 100% doubt, complete doubt in it. Because he's making a pact with kuffar, not having this foresight as to what Prophet is doing. So Quran is saying, innamal mu'minun, muhasira, innama, we all are aware of innama. We are the followers of those for whom the ayat innama yuridullah was revealed. So we know what innama means. Innama is muhasira, is hasr, that there's nothing outside of it. Innamal mu'minun. Mu'min is only the one who believes in Allah and His apostle. Is that it? You and I do that as well. Thumma lam yartabu. And then there does not doubt for 1 second as to what Allah and His Prophet has said. So this doubt has to be removed. Even if you do have doubts, don't question without reasoning, without getting an answer. And until you get an answer, don't abandon that act. If you don't know the reason behind one of the wajibat, don't just abandon it saying, until I learn the reason behind it, then I'll start doing it. Or if you don't know the reason behind one of the muharramat, don't wait until you learn and then start following it. No, keep following it just to be on the safe side, and then on the process, learn as to why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done this. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Once again, I had examples in front of you, but because of the time, I'll go through this quickly. Third is to spread this religion. So once we have received the proper recognition, and we have become completely submissive towards this religion, these are the duties, brothers and sisters. Duties towards religion. The religion which was given to us, very beautifully has been said that Islam is, Muhammadiyul Huduth, that the Huduth of Islam is from Muhammad, wa Husayniyul Baqa. It's Baqi through Hussein. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was the original cause of this religion, but the defender and the protector and the baqa of this religion is through Hussein. And it's true. If it wasn't for Imam Hussein, we would not have this religion. We would not be sitting over here, commemorating these majalis and learning and practicing this religion the way we're practicing. So therefore, we need to know what our duties are. Third thing is that we need to spread it. Again, I already mentioned why we should spread it. Not from the aspect that we want to increase our numbers. So demographically, we're more in numbers than other religions that exist. No, that's not our hadaf asli. That's not our aim. Our objective is what? We want to bring as many people out of dhalal and out of gumrahi, out of misguidance towards guidance. From that aspect, start guiding people. And it becomes your duty. Don't say, we don't need these newcomers in our religion. Why? Because they'll come in and then they'll say, why are you doing so and so? Right away, if you have that thought, if the newcomers will come and say, why are you doing so and so? Then right away you understand that those are the things that you have innovated in this religion. The last part of it is to munkarat se dur rakhna, to keep this religion away from munkarat and the evil and innovations. Yes, if you're afraid that the newcomers will come and question, why do you do this? Let it be known that thing is not part of the religion. Because if it was part of the religion, we would have an answer, authoritative answer as to why we do this. If a newcomer and tells you, why do you pray this way? You have an authoritative answer. Why do you fast from dawn till dusk? You have an authoritative answer. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why is there a difference between the practices of the two sects? You have a way of explaining that. But right when you don't have a way of explaining some of the practices, let it be known that those are our innovations. We have created them. We might not be able to go ahead and back them up many a time. So therefore, one of the things that is our duty is to spread this religion. Why? Because we want to bring people from darkness towards the light. Example is the story of a person by the name Asad ibn Zurara. He came to Makkah, learned, he returned back. He saw Prophet doing tawaf. He studied, he learned, and returned back home with Mus'ab ibn Umair. And they were the cause that why Prophet was able to migrate from Makkah to Medina. They paved the way for Prophet to make this migration. Again, Allah has designed the whole thing, but these individuals had come, learned, went back, paved the way, prepared people's hearts. Why do you think people of Medina became so accepting? That was the reason that these two individuals had gone back by the name of Asad ibn Zurara, Mus'ab ibn Umair. They paved the path for Prophet to make this migration, and how people of Medina accepted and embraced Prophet. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Fourth duty of ours is to protect this deen. Once we have recognized it, we have taslim kamil. Now we're spreading it. Now we will go ahead and worry about defending it as well. But if you don't have taslim kamil, if you don't have proper recognition, then you will not be able to go ahead and defend it. One of the methods of propagation of Ma'sumin was what? Their method was belief, complete faith in the religion. You say, what does that mean? You and I have faith in it as well. No, they have faith in a way that they have practiced everything, and then they were going ahead and propagating it. In fact, Sheikh Abbas Qummi, who collected this book known as Mafatihul Jinan, which is the zenith of every house, which has du'as and practices for the whole year. You know what he said about this book? He said, I practiced everything that's in this book for all year long, and then I gave it to the people. So it's not like I'm just suggesting them to do this dua, do that dua, do this dua. For every day you'll find so many du'as and so many namaz and so many amal. So who has time to do all of these things? Sheikh Abbas Qumi says, I performed everything before I gave this book out to public. I performed it. He said that. And he said, well, he had a lot of time in his hands. Because there's so many du'as that are listed in this book. You've got to be completely free of everything to be able to follow this book. No, that's not the case. He's not saying, or those du'as that he has compiled from the narrations of Masumeen is not telling us to get busy from morning till evening, keep on reciting every single du'a. Rather, our duty is, and I'll give you an example. There's a flight from Chicago to New York every hour. Because these two are very busy cities. They need flight every hour. There's a flight that goes 8 in the morning. There's a flight that goes 9 in the morning, which I will be taking tomorrow morning. There's a flight that goes 10 in the morning, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, all the way till the night. Do you take all of the flights? You take the one which suits your schedule. The time that you want to arrive over there, the time that you want to leave over here. Look at this book of Mafatihul Jinan from the same aspect. You don't need to read the du'as of every hour. Choose the du'a which suits your schedule. Make sure that you keep on reciting that. Make that to be your habit. And that is what is expected you of as far as your amal of the day are concerned. Salawat Biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, difa' az-deen. It is very important that we protect. One can be protected when we have started spreading it, when we have gained proper knowledge of it, and when we are ourselves completely submissive towards it. Only then we will have the pain to go ahead and protect this religion. There was a person by the name Ammar Dohni. He went to a qadi at that time. His name was Abu Layla, and it was the time of Banu Umayyad. And so obviously the qadi that are sitting there are also under these Umayyads. And when the qadi gave a testimony against him and denied what he was asking for, in fact he was there to testify for someone, the qadi Abu Layla, he denied his testimony for 2 reasons. You know how they give reasons? Your testimony is not accepted for these reasons. He denied it for 2 reasons. He said, why? He said, your testimony is denied for 2 reasons, because you are one, Shia, second, you are Rafidi. For these reasons, we cannot accept your testimony. You can go away. He started crying. He said, what is the reason of crying? This is where the answer came. He said, I'm crying because you gave me a label of 2 things which I do not possess. Once you say, I'm Rafidi. Rafidi were the ones who denied Fir'aun. I don't think my level of understanding this deen is so much that I can deny the Fir'aun of my time. Second, you call me Shia. Shia was Salman, Abu Dhar, Miqdad, Ammar. I'm by no means anywhere closer to those individuals. So you associated 2 things to me which I do not even have. You called me a Rafidi and you called me a Shia. These are attributes which are high above, even above my grade. And you associated those 2 things to me. He came back and said that to Imam. Imam said, you defended our religion. You did difa from Tashayyo, and Imam promised what he had to promise to him. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Similar is the story of Hassan ibn Yusuf ibn Mutahhar. He said, who was that? Hassan ibn Yusuf ibn Mutahhar, some individual. As soon as I'll tell you his laqab, his title, you'll all know who it is. Allama Hilli. His name was what? Muhammad ibn Yusuf ibn Mutahhar. We know him by Allama Hilli. Obviously his story is lengthy, don't have time to go in the details of it, just to point you or bring you closer to it. That what he did, in the time when this Sultan-e-Khuda Bande is there, they're obviously followers, one of the 4 madhahib. The court at that time in Baghdad is filled. Hassan ibn Yusuf ibn Mutahhar walks into the court when everybody is the follower of the 4 madhahib, and when he walks out of the court, everyone is the follower of madhab tashayyu. Did he have Asai Musa? He struck it and everybody became followers? No. He did it through the knowledge that he had and the belief that he had in this deen, that this is madhab haqqo, and he had the ability to defend this religion. The people in that court performed their salat according to the four madhahib, but the next salat which was performed according to the madhab tashayyu. That's the ability of one individual. So we look at the works of, for example, Allama Hilli and Allama Majlisi, we should not, take it for granted. They have paid heavy prices for the work that they have produced, and not just in written format, but also as far as propagation of the religion was concerned. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Lastly, standing up against mubariza with the tahrif and the innovations and the fabrications as far as in the religion is concerned. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wa salam very proudly said this. He was feeling sorry, but very proudly he said this in regards to his companion. He says, Aina akhwani, where are my brethren? Alladhina rakabu at-tariq wa madhu ala al-haq. That who, climbed onto this path and they were upon this haqq. Aina Ammar, wa aina ibn at-Tayhan, wa aina dhu shahadatain. Where are these individuals? Why is Imam remembering them? Imam says, Alladhina ahyu sunnata wa amatul bid'ata. These are the persons who gave birth, revived the sunnat, and they're the ones who destroyed the bid'at in the religion. Brothers and sisters, we discussed these messages from Ashura. And today we discussed the five-fold formula as far as our duties are concerned towards this religion. You don't have to remember the five-fold, duties that we talked about. But the gist, if it's in your mind. It is very important that we do not let many of these innovations make their way into the religion. Because that is actually another one of the, plans of the enemy. The best way to divide this community is to innovate things that are not existing already. You introduce these new things, and we know, and I'm sure all of you know what I'm referring to, are some of the practices pertaining to our Azadari that have been introduced. And I'm sure it's been discussed many times over here, so I don't need to go in the details of every single one of them. But when we merely a fact, that is when we're unable to defend them, that tells us that those practices were not part of the religion. Had they been part of the religion, we would easily be able to defend them. But because they're not part of the religion, we cannot defend them, nor do we want to defend some of them some of the times. And that's why the marjiyat-e-awliya comes into play, and they pass their verdicts, they give their fatwa towards it. This religion did not reach us very easily. I was talking to Maulana today, and we were talking about an ayat as to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done ihtimam to protect this deen. There's not just a claim in Quran, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. We are the ones who have revealed this religion, and we are the ones who are the muhafiz and the protectors of this religion. It's not just a claim and then Allah did nothing about it. No. Allah did absolutely everything to defend it. And there are ayat in Quran which He, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, which He left it in a way that there's no way for anyone to go ahead and cause any confusion about those ayat. Because the hadith says, Inna Allah la yubghidu mu'min al-da'if. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dislikes the mu'min who is da'if. Alladhi la dina lahu, the one who does not have any religion. Faqila lahu, wa mal mu'minu alladhi la dina lahu. Who is that mu'min who does not have a religion? Imam replied by saying, Qala alladhi la yanha anil munkar. The one who does not performs the munkar. So we need to be very careful when it comes to. So we discussed these five-fold duties of ours. The ma'rifat of this religion is first. Second, taslim-e-kamil of this religion, propagation of this religion, defending this religion, and then removing or not letting any doubts and innovations make their way into this religion. If we've done that, These are the duties every Muslim has. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. The ayat is actually giving us a foresight for the future. You're only looking for the benefit here. No, this person is not going to get any benefit in the hereafter either. So many ayat in Quran are similar. I'll just point your attention towards one ayat, and you can go ahead and look at it yourself. I have run out of my time. Surah Ma'idah, verse number 3, is one of those. It begins with a concept that so and so and so things are haram for you. حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به. These are the things that are haram for you. Blood, flesh, or maita, carcass, or lahm khinzir. These are haram for you. And then the tone changes in the middle of the ayat. اليوم يئس الذين كفروا من دينكم فلا تخشوهم واخشوني اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Today enemy is in complete despair. Why? Today I've perfected this religion. Why today? Because I've perfected my favors onto you. Today I've chosen this deen, going back to this deen, as a religion for you. So fine, we understand up till this point. And then the tone changes again. Yeah, those things are haram onto you, but if you are majboor, coerced, although you're not inclined on eating them, but because you're majboor, halat istirar, you can go ahead and eat even those things which were haram. You look at this ayat and you say, why? Beginning part of the ayat is saying, these things are haram. End part of the ayat is saying, these things are okay if you are majboor, but the middle part is saying something else. Because the middle part of the ayat is talking about, this ayat was revealed at Ghadir Khum, when the announcement of the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib was performed. And Allah wanted this ayat to remain intact and not be removed from there. Not be removed. So the claim in Quran, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun, is not baseless. Not only that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not protect it, but He provided means of protecting even the ayat of Quran, verses of Quran, words of Quran. Every single harf is at its place the way Prophet placed it. We are not believers of Tahrif al-Quran. So this is as far as our deen is concerned. We cannot let any innovations make their way into this deen. And that's what basically Imam Hussein was doing. Let this sacrifice of Imam and his companions go in vain. Because if we look at the sacrifice of Imam, the blood of shuhada is for what? So that this deen remains. But if we let these innovations come into this deen, then we have not done our practice. We have not done our duty. I presented our duties. We look at what Imam Hussein died for. We talked about it for the first 11 nights. We went into the messages of Ashura. This will be the last message from this Ashura. Protection of this deen. Our duties towards this religion. Imam ﷺ comes into Karbala with all of his family members intact. And 10th of Muharram, all of the men that had come with Imam ﷺ are no longer alive. Let not this sacrifice go in vain. Let's play our part. You listen to the Masaib of the day of Ashura, which was yesterday. How difficult would have been the last night for Zainab. Zainab and all of those people who were sleeping a night before at ease because Qamar Bani Hashim was parading around their tents. They had absolutely no worry because Hazrat Abbas is outside watching over. They can sleep easily. As long as Abbas is out there, there's no way anyone can harm them. So they were sleeping even in that desert. But then comes the day of Ashur, and then comes the night which goes to the day of after the Ashur, after Sham-e Ghariba. Imagine the darkness in that remote area. Imagine the ghurbat that Janab Zainab and Kulthum are going through. Shair said that, the way after the tents were burned, it's dark all over. It's pitch dark. But the only place where you could see something is when the tents were lit up with fire. That is the only thing which is showing them of the surroundings. But it says, the historians mention, the kids were spread like the beads of the tasbih. When you open up the tasbih, and if you let the beads fall, how they scattered, that's how the children were scattered all around. There's one thing on Zainab's mind now, to collect all of these kids back. Among them is our future imam, 4-year-old. Our 5th imam is among them as well. Some riwayat mention he's going towards Najaf. He's walking, he's asking someone, can you tell me which way is Najaf? He said, why do you want to go there? He said, my granddad is over there. My Jad is over there. I want to go ahead and complain to him as to what has happened to us. But Janab Zainab over here cannot find that little daughter of Imam Hussein. And so she goes around looking for Sakina. She had made a promise. Imam Hussein, when he was leaving, he said, Ya ukhti la tansini fi salatul layl. Oh my sister, do not forget me in your salatul layl. Imam is not saying don't forget me in your regular namaz. He's saying don't forget me in your salatul layl. That tells us that a person like Zainab, who has gone through such difficulty, a difficult day such as the day of Ashur, having lost her brothers, having lost her children, having lost her nephews, having lost everything that she had, still will not miss out on salatul layl. You and I on such occasions, we forget about our salat. Wajib salat. But Imam knows that's why he's giving this, asking her to do this. Do not forget me in your salatul layl. And then Imam had also reminded her of Janabe Sakina. Zainab is now wants to find where Sakina is. So she's looking around. She's calling out, oh Sakina, where are you? It's dark. Where to look? Which way to go? So she's calling upon the name, Sakina, Sakina, can you hear me? Raviyan mentioned that she came across a place where she saw this little girl who has hugged this body, which does not have apparently any head on top of it, and she's sleeping. Janab Zainab comes up, wakes Janab Sakina up, saying, oh Sakina, what are you doing over here? She said, after the tents were burned, I ran across, I was running around, how all the kids were lost. I was also looking for my way, tried to find my way back, and then I start crying, Baba. I start calling for my father, Imam Hussein. I kept calling for him until I reached this body over here. She said, Janab Zainab, oh beta, oh my daughter, usually we recognize the bodies with the faces. This body does not have any face or head attached to it. How did you recognize this is the body of your dead father? She said, I was saying, Ya Baba. I was calling upon my father, and as soon as I came close to this body, the two hands were raised, and the hands were actually calling me towards it. So I put myself onto my father, and this is where I was. Janab Zainab collects all the children. She's finding Imam Baqir. She finds Hazrat Sakina, and finally when all of them have been collected, this is a very difficult night that they have gone through. They do not know what the ahkam are for tomorrow, or what will be the commands of the Amir tomorrow. The day after Ashur comes, this is they're waiting for their fate. What is going to happen to them? This is where the persons come and tell them that yes, you will be taken from here towards Kufa, towards Ibn Ziyad. Get ready, get prepared. This is where we see the scene of the leaving of the caravan moving towards Kufa. And there was a scene before. I presented this to you on the first night of Muharram. We talked about how Imam Hussein, when he was leaving on the first night from Medina, what the scene was. Imam Hussein was sitting on the chair, and the ladies were coming on, and they were getting onto the horses and onto the camels. But every time a lady would come out, there were some jawanan who were accompanying them. There were some youth who would accompany them. Ali Akbar was there, and Janab Hazrat Abbas was there, Hazrat Qasim was there. As soon as any lady would come, they would accompany them towards their ride. But then when a lady came out, Ravi says, Abdullah ibn Sinan said that I saw Hussein, who was sitting up until now. He gets up from his own place. He goes towards helping this lady. I said, who is this lady? That Akbar is there, Abbas is there, and now Hussein has also gotten up. He said, you don't know, this is the sister of Hussein, the eldest daughter of Ali, Zainab Kubra. Now look at the scene on the day after Ashur, when they are ordered that they will be moving towards Kufa. All of these youth were there to help them mount onto the horses and the camels, but now there are no youth available. Now there are no men available. Janab Zainab helps everyone mount onto their camels. Kulthum is helped on her way. All the other ladies are held by Janab Zainab, and even our Biwar Imam, he was mounted on top of the camel with the help of Janab Zainab. But when the time came for Janab Zainab to mount onto the camel herself, she looks around, there's no one who can help her. She looks towards Farad, maybe requesting, oh Abbas, can you come and help? Ala lanatullah al-qawm al-zalimin. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون